going to begin by giving you some of my conclusions. And this is one, that the artist is that individual who gets back to society what society has concluded and put in place, and it has and shares a meaning in it, which you and I oftentimes do not know. The work of art is a solution, a hard-word solution, one solution to human needs and predicaments. Number 3, the work of art breaks fluid time into knowable identities. Time flies. If nothing happens in time, we cannot understand what time is and what time offered. And the durations that we mark with time oftentimes arise because we have impacted of time and we have made something in time. I want to begin by letting us know then, therefore, how art began. And then you're going to take your conclusion eventually from the parameters I've set out for this talk today. My title, The Necessity of Art, comes from Ernst Fischer. He was a Marxist historian of art. And he tells us this, that 3 million years ago, the human person evolved into what we call Homo erectus. From 3 million to between 1.9 million years ago to 1.5 million, human capacities evolved into what we call Homo faber, man, the maker of things. And he attributes this capacity in man to the idea that once you became a Homo erectus, your hands were free, your brain became very, very workable. You can manipulate things with your hands, and your head can begin to work better than it used to be if you were on a 4-pedestal, like a 4-pedestal walking animal. And 300 years ago, please, we now came to the situation we are today as Homo sapiens, man, the wise person. Within these frameworks, we want to realize a few things, according to Ernst Fischer equally. When man confronted nature, nature proposed what we call an obtrusive identity to man because man couldn't understand nature. But then man had a need to pluck orange, and he had nothing to pluck orange but a stick available. He cut the stick, bent the stick, formed the stick in such a way that the stick became a tool for him to use to pluck an orange. At that particular instance in the history of man, skill was put to use in converting what is natural into what is cultural. And that is the beginning of man creating culture. And since then, man had forever used his given hands with the ability of a robust brain to think, to continue to create things. And so, if you look at the history and the origin of the word art, if we go to the Greeks, the word techne means skill, and that was what art was addressed by. And the word techne in Greek language, is the origin of techniques, technicalities, and technology. And then we go to look at what technology is in relation to what this idea art turned out to be. My favorable teacher when I was in the university in those days defined technology as what it has taken from man, what it will continue to take from man, to put into use his God-given attributes, psychobiological, physical, and all of that, to bring about a better society of humanity. It includes everything we do, everything we think out to make our lives better, everything we fabricate to make sure that we guarantee the survival of self and those coming behind us. And so we might be confused in recent times to say, oh, technology is flying into space, complex mathematics that allow us to do computers. Those are all exhibition of skill. The Romans had the word ARS for skill, and that is what the Western man in Britain converted to art. So art itself is skill. And within the framework of what I'm talking about, we must understand one thing, that there are two visual cultures available to every human person in the world of nature and the world of culture. The world of culture is skill, technology, and all sorts of manipulative dexterities we have to create one thing or the other to allow us continue to survive and to provide an ease of life. The thought, art, therefore, as skill, stands out within this framework. Within the history available to us during the Renaissance period around the 1500, we never had anything like fine art. What we had was mechanical arts, comprising of anything that you must use your manual labor to do. And then the liberal arts like mathematics, anatomy, astronomy, and all of that were called liberal arts. And then the theological arts had to do with the notion of beauty, morality, and all of that. That was how studies in the world, global world in Europe, was defined, and that is what we have inherited. The idea of fine art and the servile art, or the crafts and all of that, began to separate itself with time. And in that separation, what occurred was this, that there are certain things the human being makes which do not obstruct our ways at all. They hang on the wall. They stand by the wayside. They stand in the corner of a city and all of that. As they do that, they don't obstruct your vision and all of that. All you want to do is to look at them and appreciate them and like them. Unlike every other thing made by the human person, stools, spoon to eat with, plates, cars, phone as designed by my colleague who gave a talk before, they are replaceable. You can change them. You can trash them. But there are certain things you can never trash. And those things you can never trash became known as fine art, the noble arts, because with them, you can still see something that had outlived the maker. And so, with the work of fine art, it became possible for us to trace who and what we are, because anything drawn is more than what is written. And that is how it became possible for us to reconstruct histories, understand ourselves within the framework of who we are, where we were, what we have been. If those things were not hanging around, history would be lost. Unlike the spoon, the shirt, and all of that you can easily discard. It becomes difficult to find them. But within our Nigerian context, we have had many artists. Arts have been created over the years and over time. We all know what fine art is. We all know what applied art is. All of these are products of skill, and being products of skill, they help us to understand ourselves. Within what we have narrated so far, I noted that the work of art interprets and defines who we are depending on when those artworks are made, because the artist who made them is an individual member of a society, feels like the society, operates from the sentiments and the contents in which the society operates from. In this regard, I want to call attention to a particular artwork in those days. In 2000, 2001, I'm sure many of you will be aware of the advert by MTN, whereby a father forgot his text at home and was to approach an audience in a lecture. He was so embarrassed that he linked up with the daughter within a proxy phone, and the daughter was reading the text he forgot at home through a phone to the father's hearing. Within that process, the father acted effectively like, oh, the text is before me, I'm reading the text and all of that. And by the time he finished reading the text from a proxy phone, the audience clapped so hilariously. And the father was told by the daughter, Daddy, achieve what you want to achieve. But beyond that, the text, true to type, stated clearly, now I can link up with my friends and loved ones as often as possible. The MTN facilitated that. I interrogated many Nigerians on a research on this work. And every and any Nigerian you met will tell you, oh, this is a beautiful work. This is fine. That girl is intelligent. That girl is very beautiful. In fact, I can give anything for that girl. But the truth of the matter is this, that text, that work, was indexed on corruption. The president of Obasanjo we had then came with a mantra that he was going to make sure that he eradicated corruption. But in cultural history, oftentimes, new items of culture have a way of betraying who we are. And who we are was what Obasanjo vowed to clean from. And that avowal is seen in the text and the metaphor somebody put MTN to in terms of what to create. He didn't go out to create deception, but what was available in the country for which Obasanjo said, I will clean corruption, was simply corruption and deception. Many people may never know it, but in another clime where we may not have something like this, we may not be fighting corruption. Was it possible that somebody said, oh, come on, I forgot my text, and I've just called the phone, and the courier man will be bringing the phone in another jiffy. Before he finishes saying that one, somebody stumbles into the place and drops a paper for him, and he reads the paper comfortably without the kind of deception we saw with a child reading from home and the father transcribing the reading. What possibilities were those? And to talk about it, the child tells the father, achieve what you want to achieve. Can a child who is not as old as 10 years, even if 10 years, address the father and an elder without the banality that has become of our culture? To support this, the musician talked about them kill man for inside a jegule and them born man. He's not alone. Some other person said, Nigeria go dey pray sote pikin go give him mama breast. These are elements of deception. They define the society because the society, the artist is giving back to the society what society has given to it. Even when we say, I don't get a lot, God win. God won. But you didn't tell us you worked to get the alert. All the metaphors you put in I get alert, none of them has to show that we were diligent or we are diligent. So I come to the point to state clearly that the artwork, oftentimes properly seen, puts you where you belong, tells and narrates your history. I have done this because the course of study I took is fine art. I studied as a sculptor, but at a point in time, I told myself I must go beyond sculpture to become what the Greeks told us, that there is a God between men and the gods. The language God cannot speak, the the God will speak, will understand the language and translate to God. And the language the gods cannot speak, the human cannot speak, he will take it from God and go to men. And so in my discipline, we have what we call hermeneutics. That is the man who sees beyond the ordinariness of the artwork and translates its concepts, its underlying factors to humanity. And that is where I come from as an art historian, an artist, who looks at the artwork beyond what it presents to tell the underbelly of what the artwork is. Thank you very much.